OMG. It has been such a crazy week over here in Facts and Fireland, y'all. First things first, I saw Akeem Ali a week ago in concert at Union Stage. First of all, very cute man, okay? Very cute man, very good performance. Good performer. He's doing his damn thing. And then I saw the GOAT of all goats, the King of Kings. Okay. I saw Kendrick Lamar last night and I was in the pit, y'all. And I got to give that man his flowers in real life in person. Okay. Make sure you give your folks and your idols their flowers when they deserve it, when they're here. Okay. But yes, y'all, having a good time, having a casual conversation. I don't even know how to get into my episode now because I tried to start this shit and I don't know what to do. But yes, y'all, this is Miss Facts and Fire herself, Afeni Evans, and you are watching DHQ, your one-stop shop for politics, culture, and news. And let me tell you, baby, we got a packed show for y'all today. But before we get to our main story, which is that Iran-Israel, aka the imaginary state, conflict, I just wanted to do the latest and the greatest about our favorite tiny hand tyrant, Don Cheeto. Okay. This past weekend, Donnie's loyal fans came to celebrate his birthday in a big, beautiful army. All right. And many people have made note about the crowd sizes for that birthday bash. And we know how Don feels about his crowd sizes. And from the looks of it, those crowds were so small they could have fit in the palm of Donnie's tiny little dictator hand. All right. And as easy and as fun as it is to memify our favorite dictator, okay? Our Cheeto dust covered fascist, as much as we love to laugh at him, the effects of his administration and the consequences are very, very real and very not funny for our most marginalized communities, okay? So let's just get into it. Donald Trump made a campaign promise. Okay. He made a campaign promise to deport 20 million illegal immigrants, people that have migrated to this country for a myriad of reasons, saying that it is a quote unquote migrant invasion, and also trying to say that there is a rising migrant crime. Now, statistics show that people that immigrate to this country commit crime far less than American citizens do. But that's what the campaign trail is all about. Who can tell the better story and tell better lies? So, as he tries to justify this inhumane policy proposal, we see many people within his camp who openly supported mass deportations. And we also saw some folks that are quote unquote Democrats who supported these deportations as well. Not surprising because the Democrats have funded ICE more and more year over year, always trying to beat the Republicans in that. Um, so it's not surprising that so many Democratic voters also have crossed over to quote unquote support some of these deportations. Now, the Trump administration has claimed that around 140,000 people have been deported as of April 2025. But again, Donnie loves to tell big lies. So, real estimates say that it's around 70,000. That's still a lot of people in a short amount of time. How is this being done? Because people's due process rights are being violated. Okay? Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, Congresswoman from New York, she was in a hearing with some folks from the agency asking them how they are actually getting to the numbers of the folks that are quote unquote illegal in this country. And it has actually been found that they are just canceling TPS. They are canceling other forms of actual legal status. So they are taking people's legal status away, deeming them as illegal, and deporting them. Shout out to AOC for that. It has also been found that people are being deported on their way to immigration court. They're being deported trying to actually follow through with the process. So this is being done in the way that it's being done because they are literally stripping people's rights to due process away right before our eyes, okay? Now, the American Immigration Council says that a highly conservative estimate of Donald Trump's immigration plan would cost at least 315 billion with a B, big B's, billion dollars. Okay? And if we do not actually staff up the personnel in ICE to carry it out, it does not matter. And if they do not create literally more space in facilities, then they don't even have the space to actually humanely hold all these people. So not only is this plan untenable, but it is just rooted in the white supremacist idea that America was meant to be a white dominated country, a country that was built on stolen land, that that a government who slaughtered the indigenous people of Turtle Island, a country that kidnapped people from the shores of Africa to build upon this land and enslave them and their for generations to build upon this land. They see this as being a white country. Okay? So if ICE does not have the personnel, if they do not have the facilities to hold 20 million people, then what ends up happening? Well, people get deported to El Salvadorian death camps. If ICE does not have the personnel, well, then that means, as it has been confirmed and proven, that white vigilantes will be deputized by ICE, as they have been, to carry out these kidnappings of sometimes American citizens and of just people who are trying to feed their families. And even the business world at this point is looking at this plan as untenable because many corporations in places like California, these big agricultural firms, these big agricultural farms, they need migrant workers to work these jobs. So now their bottom lines are being impacted by the inefficiency and I would say the idiocy of the Trump administration and their white supremacist plans, okay? Now let's talk a little bit about the history of ICE. ICE was founded in 2003. I am older than ICE, okay? ICE was founded in 2003. Now they say that ICE was created to protect national security. But really, ICE was created by lawmakers to address the growing anxiety around the immigrant populations in America. And the mainstream media was feeding into this by stoking the flames of Islamophobia at the time. So, with people saying that they want this very new agency, this very new agency, to carry out an operation of this size, they clearly don't understand the logistics of how something like this would work, right? And that brings us to the response, the community response, what people have been doing in the streets to combat this very fascist escalation, this very untenable, this very inhumane escalation to deport people as they are at graduations, as they are at work, as they are at immigration court. People have now decided to take matters into their own hands and create community-led responses to ICE raids and actually get their community members back from the Gestapo that is kidnapping them. Okay? And we're seeing this very well demonstrated in somewhere like LA. I would say like 2 weeks now that LA has been doing sustained protests and also community rapid response to ICE raids. And LA is a city literally named Los Angeles, where many of the people that are living in that state that are of that color, of that ethnicity, whether that be Latino, Latinx, they are indigenous to that land. Without the immigrant population of LA being there, the culture of LA would not exist. And the community members that are there, that are doing these community led responses, are centering that in their conversation. They're centering that in the ways in which they're talking about this, because it is important for us to humanize the members of the community that are being taken from us as they try to criminalize them and convince us that the only way that we can be safe is if they are not here. So the protests in LA, people would call them riots. I would call it uprising. The protests in LA shows us that if we actually take the time and take our intention around building real systems and communities of care, that when it is time for us to actually act, we can do that in a way that is strategic, in a way that is measurable, in a way that is impactful. Because even though they can't stop every deportation, they have been able to slow down and stand in the way of many, right? And here's the thing that really grinds my gears about immigration and the talks around it, right? Because when we talk about why people migrate here, we never talk about the roots of what that is. America and the way that it exists in the world, it literally destroys economies. How? By putting sanctions on governments that they do not agree with. If you want Venezuelan immigrants to stop coming here, then you should push for the government of America to take sanctions off of Venezuela. If you want people to stop migrating here, then we should stop cooing other people's governments when they elect a leader that we don't like. If you want people to stop migrating here and staying here illegally, then we should expand the path to citizenship. Because if we're being so honest, we're being so for real. I know black people ain't going back to the fields. White folks ain't got it. So who else are going to fill some of the positions of these migrant workers? Who else? So we must make it tenable for them to be here. And if their illegal status is the problem, then make it easier for them to be citizens. Period. Make it easier for them to be citizens. And if all you care about is not, hold on. Because here's the thing. They are trying to make legal citizenship illegal for certain groups and make it completely legal for groups like South African whites. South African colonizers come here. But you're telling me your Guatemalan grandma can't? Be for real, all right? They're not trying to make the country more American. They're trying to make the country whiter, okay? So if you support that, then say that. But if you just support having an immigration system that makes sense and that works, then let's start having that conversation for real. All right, y'all. Now let's get into the main story for today. All right. Things are getting hot in Southwest Asia, okay? In what the imperialists call the Middle East, things are escalating and they are escalating quickly. Some folks are saying it might lead to World War III. That may or may not be true. So let's get into it. But before we get too deep into what's happening in the now, just grounding us in a little history of how we got here, okay? So, Iran was a country in the 1950s that had a lot of liberal and honestly borderline communist ideas in government, right? And in 1953, the CIA and MI6 overthrew the democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, who had nationalized the country's oil industry. And why did they do that? In order for Britain to reclaim the rights and the sovereignty over Iranian oil. All right? And this coup installed a brutal monarchy, okay? the last Shah of Iran was so brutal towards his people, he was using a secret police force against them. All right. And this person was extremely favorable to the West. He gave all of the money from the oil, all the things, and he also personally enriched himself off of Western dollars. Okay. And the people of Iran got tired of this. They grew tired of the repression. So in 1979, there was a revolution in the country that abolished the monarchy, and a new anti Western leader took power. Okay? Ayatollah Khamenei was Time magazine's Man of the Year in 1979 for his international influence. And he was also seen as the face of Shia Islam in Western popular culture. So the Ayatollah, again, was not a big fan of the West. And even the current leader of Iran is, I would say, in less of a fan of the West. And so Iran and the imaginary state who shall not be named have no diplomatic relations, and they have not had diplomatic relations since 1979 because of that abolishing of that monarchy. Okay. So that's just to lay the groundwork. Prior to all of this, Israel was seen as a mitigating force in the imperialist Middle East because the West was quite literally and still is literally exerting its dominance through that glorified military base, using it to control the countries around it in order to gain access to their resources. Now, there's another powerful Arab state in this region, and that's Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is a little shaky on many things, but they are at least, trying to speak out about the genocide in Gaza and also do some condemnation of Israel and the ways in which they are operating politically. Okay. So Iran is not the most democratic country in the world. I'm not about to pretend like it is. I am a Muslim. I do support like Muslim countries existing. I believe that countries should be able to exist in whatever way they want to in a sovereign way, right? But I think the ways in which the West is trying to exert its dominance over Iran it's simply for the fact that Iran has oil that they have not been able to get access to. Iran not being able to get nukes is simply so that Iran does not have true sovereignty. Because the thing about it is, Donald Trump can tweet that Tehran needs to clear out, evacuate Tehran right now. But he can't tweet that about Moscow. I wonder why that is. He really could. He can't tweet that about Israel. I wonder why that is. And it's because these countries have nuclear weapons. Okay? So, in a means, I would say, to stop Iran from becoming a true sovereign country that can fully establish itself as a real Arab nation with power in the region, Israel, America, they have continuously demonized their government. They have continuously demonized and physically and militarily attacked their country as well. Israel is known, the imaginary state is known for killing scientists, nuclear scientists in Iran, for killing doctors, and just targeting them simply because they are able to create the scientific advancements that are necessary for Iran to even just get nuclear energy. Not nuclear weapons, but to enrich uranium to the point where they can have access to nuclear energy, right? So on June 13th, 2025, this what was really mostly a Cold War escalated to a very hot war when the imaginary state launched an unnecessary attack with the knowledge of the United States. Please do not let them tell you that this was not US backed. Israel does nothing without the United States knowing. Okay? With the knowledge of the United States, Israel bombed dozens of Iranian targets. Okay? And mind you, Iran and America were in the middle of negotiations for the Iran nuclear deal that Donald Trump ripped up himself. So remember that. Donald Trump is the whole reason why this is even still a conversation now. Donald Trump ripped up the Iran nuclear deal. They were in the middle of renegotiating that deal. And because of this escalation, those talks are now being cut short. And we're seeing a real movement towards America actually being directly involved in a conflict with Iran. Here's the problem with that, okay? America is not the Western superpower she used to be. She does not have the global support that she used to have. And the imaginary state, who has been carrying out the genocide that is leading to the delegitimizing of many Western institutions like the ICC, like the UN, the more these institutions start to lose power, the more these institutions start to lose dominance and legitimacy in the eyes of institutions like BRICS, for example, the more it is going to be like honestly impossible for America to dominate the world after another quote unquote world war. The US dollar, and this is relevant and it is important. The US dollar is being downgraded. And trust in the US as a superpower, as a world leader is disintegrating day by day. So in a conflict like this that is escalating so quickly, that has so many other players in in tow, China, Russia, who are really, let's be honest, waiting for an opportunity to actually be able to seize global dominance and create the multipolar world that that these countries are looking to build. This is going to be a grave mistake on the behalf of the United States of America, but we will make it because this is how empires fall, violently and loudly. The more America continues to lose its control, the more violent it will be inside of our borders. That's the reason why you're seeing the escalation with ICE. And right now, they're deporting the Latinos, the Haitians. 44% of the families that are in ICE detention right now are Haitians. So Jamal's that look like Jean Pierre's, it might hit you too. The more they lose their dominance on the global stage, the more violent this is going to get. And we have not seen anything like the entity that is America fall. A country that has the military dominance, the financial dominance, like this one. A country that has a military that is the size of the next 10 militaries globally. It is going to be a bloodbath. And they are going to send your children. They are going to send your children to this war. Because military recruitment numbers, they're basura. In the garbage, baby. Low. They're low. You think that they're above drafting you? Right now, they're cutting the job sectors, y'all. Let's be so for real. They're cutting the jobs. Jerome Powell, under the Biden administration, said very explicitly that they are trying to move the economy in a way that the workers no longer have the power to choose where they want to work and what they want to do. We have too much power right now. We have too much movement. So there has been an intentional effort to shrink the job market over the past 5 years. And with the Trump tariffs and everything else, with the rising costs of basic necessities, rent, food, healthcare, the military is going to look a lot more attractive to a lot more people. And even if it doesn't look more attractive, that's going to be one of the only ways you're going to get some of this socialism that they keep trying to invade other countries for. So it is important for us because truly, I said all that to say that it is important for us to be very clear about what it means for America to be involved in any direct conflict right now, especially with the context of us having a very entertaining but fascist president in our White House who is looking to solidify his power as a dictator. And how do dictators and strong men solidify their power? In wartime. Because it has been statistically proven that people are less likely to want regime change in the midst of a war. Do not let them manufacture your consent for yet another endless conflict that will not end the way Afghanistan ended. It will not end the way Iraq ended. This will be worse than anything we could have ever imagined because we will be on the receiving end of some of the most violent parts of the repression of this government, as well as the people that are outside of this country. So we must ask ourselves, how long can our American passports protect us from the brutality of the U.S. regime? Because if you ask some of the U.S. citizens that are sitting in that El Salvadorian death camp right now, who had their paperwork on them when they were kidnapped by ICE and deported, I don't think we have very much time. Thank you so much for tapping in with us here at DHQ. If you felt something, say something down in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to the channel, y'all. Hit that notification bell so you never, ever, ever miss a thing because the culture never sleeps and neither do we. Peace, y'all. Love y'all.